The explosion tore through the starboard hull just as Lieutenant Connor Hayes reached for the airlock controls. Metal shrieked and atmosphere vented in a violent rush that sent him slamming against the bulkhead. His helmet display flashed red warnings he didn't have time to read. "Connor, move!" Captain Lisa Grant's voice crackled through the comm. "They're boarding us!" He kicked off the wall and launched himself through the corridor as pulse fire lit up the smoke behind him. The alien raiders had picked the worst possible moment to attack a human supply vessel, or maybe the best, depending on whose side you were on. 3 weeks out from Earth, minimal weapons, skeleton crew. The ship lurched sideways. Something massive had just docked with them. Connor hit the emergency ladder and climbed fast, mag boots clanging against the rungs. Above him, the command deck was chaos. Sparks showered from severed panels. 2 crew members lay motionless near their stations. "How many?" he shouted. 12 contacts, maybe more," Lisa said, working her console with one hand while gripping a plasma rifle with the other. They cut through engineering like it was paper. The blast door behind them groaned. Metal began to glow orange. "They want the cargo bay," Connor said. "There's nothing down there but medical supplies and water rations." "Then why are they tearing us apart?" The door exploded inward. Armored figures poured through, tall and angular, their exoskeletons gleaming with an oily iridescence. Vorathian shock troops, the galaxy's most efficient killers. Connor opened fire. His shots scattered off their shields in useless bursts of light. Lisa's rifle did the same. They were outgunned, outmatched, and out of options. Then one of the Vorathians spoke. Its voice transmitted through their comms in perfect English. "Surrender the human," called Connor Hayes. Everything stopped. Even the sparking consoles seemed to quiet. Connor's finger froze on the trigger. "What?" "You have 30 seconds to comply. Refuse and your crew dies." Lisa turned to stare at him. "Connor, what the hell is going on?" "I don't know." 20 seconds. His mind raced. He'd never been to Vorathian space, never crossed paths with their kind. He was a supply runner, not a diplomat or a spy or anyone worth launching a military operation for. 10 seconds. "Connor, don't!" Lisa said. He dropped his rifle and stepped forward, hands raised. "I'm Hayes. Let them go." The lead Vorathian moved faster than anything that size should move. It crossed the deck in one fluid motion and seized Connor's arm in a grip like a steel vice. "Wise choice, human. The princess will be pleased." The words made no sense. Nothing made sense. Then the world went black as something struck the back of his head, and Connor Hayes fell into darkness, wondering what princess could possibly want him dead. Connor woke to pain and the smell of ozone. His head throbbed where they'd hit him, and his wrists burned against metal restraints. He forced his eyes open and immediately wished he hadn't. He was strapped to a chair in the center of a massive circular chamber. The walls curved upward into a dome of translucent material that showed the stars streaming past. They were moving fast, faster than any human ship could manage. The floor beneath him pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that hurt to look at directly, but none of that compared to what stood in front of him. She was tall, easily 7 feet, with skin that shifted between deep violet and midnight blue, like living twilight. 4 arms moved with deliberate grace, 2 folded across her torso, 2 hanging at her sides. Her face was angular and alien, with large eyes that glowed faintly gold, but there was something unmistakably regal in the way she held herself. She wore armor that looked grown rather than forged, organic plates that moved when she breathed. "You're awake," she said. Her voice was multi-layered, like 3 people speaking in perfect harmony. "Good. We have much to discuss, Connor Hayes." "Who are you?" His throat was raw. "I am Princess Vela of the Carassian Empire, and you are my chosen mate." The words hung in the air like a detonation waiting to happen. Connor laughed. He couldn't help it. The sound came out half-crazed. "You're what?" "My mate. My bonded. The one I have selected to stand beside me as consort when I take the throne." She moved closer, her lower arms gesturing in what might have been emphasis. "Surely you understand the honor bestowed upon you. Lady, I don't understand anything. I'm a cargo pilot from Earth. I've never even been to Carasian space. That is precisely why I chose you. Vela circled him slowly, studying him like a specimen. The court expects me to select from the noble houses a Varathian warlord or a Zenthari diplomat, someone who brings political advantage, someone predictable. So you kidnapped a random human instead? You are not random. Her golden eyes locked onto his. I have studied your species for 3 cycles. You are adaptable, resilient. You survived the Ganymede outbreak when 90% of your station died. You held a ship together with spare parts and determination for 6 weeks in deep space. You have proven yourself capable under impossible circumstances. Connor's pulse hammered in his ears. That doesn't mean I want to marry an alien princess. Want is irrelevant. The selection ceremony is in 4 days. By Carasian law, once a princess announces her chosen, the bond cannot be broken except by death. She leaned close enough that he could smell something like cinnamon and lightning. You will stand beside me before the Council of Thrones. You will speak the words of binding, and you will become the first human to enter the Imperial bloodline. And if I refuse? Vela straightened. Then the council will declare me unfit to rule. My younger brother Kessex will take the throne, and the first act of his reign will be to launch a full-scale invasion of Earth's colonies. He has wanted an excuse for years. Your species has expanded into territories he considers rightfully ours. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. You're using me as a political pawn. I am using you as a shield, Vela corrected. Kessex cannot challenge my rule if I have fulfilled the selection ritual. And by choosing a human, I force the Council to acknowledge your species as worthy of Imperial recognition. It grants Earth protection under Carasian law, so I save humanity by becoming alien royalty. Essentially, yes. Connor tested the restraints. They didn't budge. What if I'm already married? What if I have someone back home? Our intelligence says you do not. You live alone. Your family is deceased. Your closest relationship is with Captain Lisa Grant, which our analysts classify as professional respect, nothing more. Vela's expression softened slightly. I did not choose carelessly, Connor Hayes. I chose someone who could afford to leave their old life behind. The accuracy of her information was somehow more terrifying than anything else. You've been watching me for 8 months. Since you saved that colony transport near the Helix Nebula, you diverted from your flight path, used your own fuel reserves, and asked for nothing in return. That is not common, even among humans. She moved to a panel on the wall, and the restraints released. With a hiss, Connor's arms dropped free. You are not a prisoner. You are my guest. And in 4 days you will be my consort, because the alternative is war. Connor stood slowly, rubbing his wrists. Through the dome above, he could see ships keeping pace with them. Dozens of warships, maybe hundreds, all bearing the same symbol he'd seen on Vela's armor. The galaxy wasn't ready for this, he said quietly. No, Vela agreed. But it will adapt. Your kind always does. She walked toward a doorway that irised open at her approach, then paused. Rest, Connor Hayes. Tomorrow you begin learning what it means to stand beside a princess, and I suggest you learn quickly. There are those in my court who would rather see you dead than see a human wear Imperial colors. Then she was gone, and Connor was left alone in a starship racing toward a destiny he'd never asked for, holding the fate of humanity in his unwilling hands. The door slid open at dawn, if dawn meant anything on a ship hurtling through hyperspace. Connor hadn't slept. He'd spent the night pacing the chamber they'd given him, which was larger than his entire apartment back on Earth, and filled with furniture that seemed designed for someone with a different number of limbs. The figure who entered wasn't Vela. It was a Varathian, shorter than the shock troops but no less intimidating. Its armor was ceremonial, etched with symbols Connor didn't recognize. When it spoke, the voice was female and sharp as broken glass. I am Commander Zara, head of the princess's personal guard. You will come with me. Good morning to you too. Zara's eyes narrowed behind her helmet. Sarcasm will not serve you well here, human. There are 16 noble houses represented on this vessel. 14 of them want you dead before you reach the Caratian homeworld. My job is to keep you breathing long enough to fulfill your purpose. She turned and walked out, without checking if he followed. Connor followed. The corridors were massive, built for species larger than humans. Crew members stopped to stare as he passed. Some showed curiosity. Others showed open contempt. One alien with crystalline skin actually spat on the floor as he walked by. Friendly crowd, Connor muttered. You represent everything they despise, Zara said without slowing. Weakness, the dilution of imperial purity. In their eyes, the princess has committed heresy by selecting you. Then why are they here? Because defying a royal command means execution. But accidents happen. Remember that. They entered a training hall that stretched the length of a football field. Weapons lined the walls. Combat drones hovered near the ceiling. And in the center, waiting with 4 arms crossed, stood Vela. She looked different in combat gear, more dangerous. The regal bearing was still there, but underneath it, Connor could see the warrior. You're late, she said. I didn't know I had an appointment. You have an appointment every moment until the ceremony. If you're going to survive the court, you need to be able to defend yourself. She gestured and one of the drones descended, its surface rippling with projected weaponry. The council allows trial by combat. Any noble who challenges your worthiness can demand you prove yourself in the arena. I'm a pilot, not a fighter. Then you will learn to be both. Vela moved with liquid speed, drawing a blade from her hip and tossing it to him. He caught it on instinct. The weapon felt alive in his hand, vibrating with barely contained energy. Vorathian combat blade. It will cut through most armor if you strike correctly. The drone will attempt to kill you. I will attempt to teach you how to prevent that. Wait, kill me! The drone opened fire. Connor dove sideways as energy bolts scorched the floor where he'd been standing. He rolled, came up running, and immediately had to change direction as the drone tracked him with mechanical precision. His heart slammed against his ribs. Stop running! Vela's voice cut through the chaos. Running marks you as prey. I am prey. Then become a predator. The drone fired again. Connor brought the blade up instinctively, and the energy bolt hit the weapon's edge, deflecting in a spray of sparks. His arm went numb from the impact, but the shot went wide. Better, Vela said. She was moving now, too, circling the perimeter. Again. Let it fire. Deflect. Learn the rhythm. 3 more shots came in rapid succession. Connor deflected 2 and took the third on his shoulder. The impact spun him around and pain exploded through his body. He hit the ground hard, gasping. The drone moved in for the kill. Vela was there in a blur of motion, all 4 arms working in concert. She caught the drone mid-flight, crushed something vital in its core, and tossed the sparking wreckage aside. Then she hauled Connor to his feet with 2 hands, while the other 2 checked his injury. Burned but not critical. You'll survive. Her golden eyes studied his face. Your instincts are good. Your technique is terrible. We have 4 days to fix that. 4 days to turn me into a warrior. 4 days to keep you alive long enough to matter. She released him and stepped back. The court will test you in ways you cannot imagine. Physical combat is only one aspect. They will question your intelligence, your loyalty, your worth. They will push you until you break. And if I do break, then Earth burns and I lose my throne. So you will not break. It wasn't a request. It was a fact she'd already decided. Again. This time, fight like your species depends on it. Another drone descended. Connor raised the blade. The next 3 hours were a nightmare of pain and learning. Vela drilled him relentlessly, teaching him Carasian combat forms that emphasized speed and adaptation over raw strength. His body screamed for rest, but she gave him none. Every time he fell, she pulled him up. Every time he failed, she made him try again. By the time she finally called a halt, Connor was bleeding from a dozen minor cuts, and his muscles felt like molten lead. Acceptable progress, Vela said, which he suspected was the closest she came to praise. Tomorrow we work on diplomacy. The court will try to trap you with words as readily as blades. Can't wait. Connor gasped. Zara appeared at the doorway. Her expression was grim. Princess, we have a problem. Ambassador Thane from the Vorathian delegation has formally requested an audience with the human. He claims right of inquiry under Imperial law. Vela's entire posture changed. For the first time, Connor saw something that might have been worry cross her face. Thane. Of course it would be Thane. She turned to Connor. Ambassador Thane is the most dangerous person on this ship besides me. He will smile while plotting your destruction. He will offer friendship while sharpening the knife for your back. And you will meet with him because refusing would give him exactly what he wants, which is proof that you're too weak for the Imperial Court. Proof that I made a mistake choosing you. Blah. She moved closer, her voice dropping. Listen carefully, Connor Hayes. When you speak with Thane, trust nothing he says. Answer no questions directly. And remember that every word you speak will be reported to the Council. No pressure then. The meeting is in 1 hour. Zara will escort you. Vela headed for the exit, then paused. And Connor? Thane's last 3 opponents in political debate committed suicide within a month. Do not underestimate him. She left him standing in the training hall, covered in sweat and blood, with 1 hour to prepare for a battle he had no idea how to fight. The conference room was designed to intimidate. The ceiling soared 3 stories high, covered in murals depicting ancient Karazian conquests. The table was carved from a single piece of black stone that seemed to absorb light. And at the far end sat Ambassador Thane. He was Vorathian, but different from the soldiers Connor had seen. Thinner, almost frail-looking, with ceremonial robes that shimmered like oil on water. His face was covered by a translucent mask that distorted his features just enough to be unsettling. When he gestured for Connor to sit, all 6 of his fingers moved independently. Connor Hayes, the human who captured a princess's heart. Thane's voice was smooth, almost pleasant. Please, sit. We have much to discuss. Connor sat across from him, hyper-aware of Zara standing at attention by the door. The commander had searched him for weapons 3 times before allowing him entry. I didn't capture anything. She captured me. Semantics. Thane poured liquid from a crystalline decanter into 2 cups, but an interesting choice of words. You see yourself as a victim. That will make the court's decision easier. What decision? Whether to accept you or reject you. Whether to honor the princess's selection or declare it void on grounds of coercion. Thane slid 1 cup across the table. Drink. It's harmless to human biology. I made certain. Connor didn't touch it. Why are you here, Ambassador? Curiosity. In my 400 years of service to the Empire, I have never seen a princess choose so unexpectedly. I wanted to meet the human who convinced Princess Vela to risk everything. Those distorted features studied him. But now that I see you, I wonder if she chose you at all. Meaning? Meaning perhaps you are not a consort but a pawn. A disposable piece in a larger game. Thane leaned forward. Tell me, Connor Hayes, what do you know of Kyrasian succession law? Only what the princess told me. Then you know almost nothing. Thane's fingers drummed against the table in a rhythm that set Connor's teeth on edge. Let me educate you. When a ruling monarch dies, the eldest heir must complete 3 trials before taking the throne. The trial of strength, the trial of wisdom, and the trial of bond. Bond. The selected mate must prove themselves worthy before the Council of Thrones. They must demonstrate value to the Empire, show capability in leadership, and survive 7 days of questioning and combat challenges from any noble who wishes to test them. In the last 2 centuries, only 40% of selected mates have survived the trial. Most die in the arena. Some go mad under the psychological pressure. A few simply vanish. Connor's mouth went dry. Vela didn't mention that part. I'm certain she didn't, because if you knew the odds of your survival, you might refuse. And if you refuse, she loses her claim to the throne. Her brother Kessex becomes emperor, and his first act will indeed be war against your colonies. Thane picked up his own cup and drank. She has placed you in an impossible position. Sacrifice yourself and possibly save your species. Refuse and guarantee their destruction. Quite elegant, really. You're saying she's using me? I'm saying she's desperate. The Emperor is dying. He has perhaps 2 months remaining. When he passes, the trials begin immediately. Vela knows she cannot defeat Kessex in direct combat. He is larger, stronger, a proven warrior. But if she completes the trial of Bond first, the law states she takes precedence in the succession. Thane set down his cup. You are her shortcut to power, human. Nothing more. Connor wanted to argue, to defend Vela, but the logic was airtight. Everything Thane said made terrible sense. Why tell me this? Because I believe in honesty. And because I'm offering you an alternative. Thane's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Refuse the bond. Publicly. Claim you were coerced. That you never consented to this arrangement. The council will be forced to invalidate Vela's selection. She will lose her claim, yes, but Kessex will be bound by honor law. He cannot attack Earth if a human has formally rejected imperial status. You would be setting a precedent, creating diplomatic immunity for your entire species. And Vela will be alive, powerless, but alive. Kessex may even allow her to remain at court in some diminished capacity. It's better than watching you die in the arena, which is the most likely outcome of the trial. Connor's head spun. Everything Thane said had the ring of truth, but Vela's warning echoed in his mind. Trust nothing he says. You want me to betray her. I want you to save yourself and potentially save her from making a catastrophic mistake. A human consort will never be accepted by the noble houses. They will tear you apart, and in doing so, they will destroy her politically. Is that what you want? What I want is to go home. Then do so. Refuse the bond. Return to Earth with your life intact. Thane stood, moving around the table with predatory grace. Or stay and die for a princess who sees you as a tool, not a person. The choice is yours, Connor Hayes, but choose quickly. Time is running out. The ambassador moved toward the exit, then paused beside Connor's chair. One more thing. The trial of Bond includes a final test. The consort must share blood with the princess in a public ceremony. Corasian blood is toxic to most species, fatal to some. Has she told you if humans can survive it? Connor's heart stopped. I thought not. Do consider that before you pledge your life to her cause. Thane swept out of the room, his robes trailing behind him like smoke. Zara stepped forward. We need to leave. Now. Connor sat frozen, staring at the untouched cup of liquid on the table. His reflection stared back at him from its surface, distorted and uncertain. Is it true? He asked. About the blood? Zara's expression was unreadable behind her helmet. The princess will explain everything when she's ready. That's not an answer. No, it's not. She hauled him to his feet and led him from the room. But Connor's mind was already racing ahead, calculating odds and outcomes, wondering if he'd been rescued or recruited, if Vela was his savior or his executioner. And in 3 days he would have to stand before an alien court and make the choice that would determine the fate of 2 civilizations. Behind them, the untouched cup sat on the black stone table, its contents slowly evaporating into toxic vapor that Thane had known Connor would never drink. The ambassador had made his first move. The game had truly begun. Connor found Vela on the observation deck, standing alone before a viewport that showed the stars stretching into infinity. She didn't turn when he entered, but her upper shoulders tensed slightly. Thane got to you, she said. Not a question. He told me about the blood ritual, about the survival rate of consorts, about how you're using me to win a power struggle. Connor crossed the deck until he stood beside her. He also offered me a way out. And you're considering it? Shouldn't I be? You kidnapped me, threw me into a war I don't understand, and apparently forgot to mention that your blood might kill me. His anger surprised him with its intensity. Were you ever going to tell me the truth? Vela was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than he'd ever heard it. The blood exchange has a 63% survival rate for humans. I had our medical team analyze your genetic profile. Your odds are slightly better, 70% perhaps. 70%? So 3 in 10 chance I die just for marrying you. Yes, and you were going to spring this on me when exactly? The night before the ceremony. After you trained. After you'd committed. She turned to face him, and for the first time Connor saw something raw in her expression. Because if I told you now, you would refuse, and I cannot allow that. Cannot or will not. Both. Vela moved to the viewport, pressing one hand against the transparent surface. Thane told you I'm desperate. He's right. He told you I'm using you. He's also right about that. But what he didn't tell you is why Kessex cannot be allowed to take the throne. Because he'll start a war. No, because he's already started one. Vela's reflection in the viewport looked haunted. 3 months ago, Kessex authorized an attack on a neutral research station in the Talus sector. 47 scientists died. The Empire covered it up, blamed it on raiders. But I have proof, recordings, testimony from survivors. Connor's blood went cold. The Talus station, that was Kessex. You know it? My cousin worked there. She was one of the casualties. The memory hit him like a physical blow. Katie, brilliant and kind, dead in an attack he'd been told was random violence. I'm sorry. Vela's voice was genuine, but you need to understand what's at stake. Kessex believes humans are vermin infesting space that belongs to the Empire. The Talus attack was a test. If he takes the throne, it will be the first of many. He will systematically eradicate every human colony outside Earth's immediate protection. So you're not just trying to save Earth. You're trying to avenge what he's already done. I'm trying to stop him before he finishes what he started. She turned to face him fully. Bad. And yes, I am using you. I selected you because you're capable, because you're expendable in the eyes of the court, and because your survival or death serves my purposes either way. The honesty was brutal. Either way, if you survive the trials, you legitimize my claim and protect your species through imperial law. If you die, you become a martyr. Proof of Kessex's cruelty. Evidence that the current system is broken. Either outcome weakens him politically. Vela stepped closer. I am not a good person, Connor Hayes. I am a princess bred for strategy and warfare. I do what must be done. And what I want doesn't matter. What you want matters to me less than what you can accomplish. That's the truth. That's what Thane wanted you to understand. Her golden eyes held his. But there's one thing he didn't tell you, because he doesn't know it. If you refuse the bond, I will not simply accept defeat. What does that mean? It means I will challenge Kessex directly. Without the legal protection of a completed trial of bond, I will have no choice but to invoke the right of succession combat. Single combat to the death before the entire court. Connor's stomach dropped. You said he's stronger than you. He is. He will kill me. But at least I will die fighting instead of watching him destroy everything my mother built. She smiled, and it was the saddest thing Connor had ever seen. So you see, your choice is not between your life and Earth's safety. It's between a 30% chance you die in the blood ritual versus a certain guarantee that I die fighting my brother. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. But it is what we have. Vela moved past him toward the exit. Thane offered you an escape. I'm offering you a purpose. The ceremony is in 2 days. Decide which matters more to you. She was almost to the door when Connor spoke. My cousin, Katie. She was studying xenobiology. She wanted to build bridges between species. His voice cracked. She believed we could all coexist peacefully if we just tried to understand each other. Vela stopped. Kessex killed that dream when he killed her, Connor continued. And if I walk away now, her death means nothing. Every human who's died to his ambition means nothing. So you'll stay? Connor thought about Lisa and his crew, probably listed as casualties by now, about Katie's empty apartment and unfinished research, about Earth's colonies, filled with people who had no idea how close they were to annihilation. I'll stay, but not because you're using me. He met her eyes. Because maybe I can use you too. You need a consort to legitimize your rule. I need someone powerful enough to make Kessex pay for what he's done. An alliance of mutual exploitation. How very political of you. You said I needed to learn fast. For the first time, something like respect flickered across Vela's face. You may survive this yet, Connor Hayes. Or die trying. 70% odds, remember. I remember everything. She moved back toward him, extending one hand in what might have been a Eurasian gesture of respect. Tomorrow we continue training. No more secrets. No more lies. If you're going to stand beside me, you deserve to know exactly what you're walking into. Connor took her hand. Her skin was cooler than human skin, textured differently, but her grip was firm and steady. Deal. But I want something in return. Name it. When this is over, when your Empress and Earth is protected, I want access to all intelligence on the Talos attack. Every file, every recording, every piece of evidence. I want to know exactly who gave the orders and who carried them out. Planning revenge? Planning justice. There's a difference. Vela's smile turned sharp. Perhaps you will make an acceptable consort after all. She released his hand and left him alone on the observation deck. Through the viewport, Connor could see the Curation homeworld approaching in the distance. A massive planet wreathed in rings of orbital stations and defense platforms. Somewhere down there, an empire waited to judge him. Somewhere down there, Kessex was planning his next move. And in 2 days, Connor Hayes would walk into the Council of Thrones and gamble everything on a 30% chance of survival. But as he stared at that alien world growing larger by the moment, he realized something had changed. He wasn't a victim anymore. He wasn't even a pawn. He was a player in a game that would reshape the galaxy, and he was going to make damn sure humanity came out on top. The Council of Thrones was a cathedral of power carved from living crystal. Thousands filled the amphitheater, representatives from every species in the Empire, their voices creating a wall of sound that pressed against Connor like a physical force. Above them, the dying Emperor sat on a throne of twisted metal and bone, his breathing audible through speakers that carried it across the vast chamber. Connor stood in the center of the arena floor, wearing ceremonial armor that Vela's attendants had spent hours fitting to his human frame. It felt like wearing someone else's skin. Vela stood beside him, resplendent in full Imperial regalia, her forearms positioned in the formal stance of challenge. She hadn't looked at him since they entered. This was theater now, performance. Ambassador Thane rose from his seat in the noble section. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. I invoke the right of inquiry. This human has not proven himself worthy of Imperial bond. The crowd erupted. Vela had warned Connor this would happen, but the sheer hostility was overwhelming. The Emperor raised one withered hand and silence fell instantly. Speak your challenge, Ambassador. The human claims to accept the princess's selection, but he has no lineage, no honor, no understanding of our ways. I demand trial by testimony. Let him prove his worth through words before we waste blood on ceremony. Clever, Connor thought. Thane was avoiding direct combat, or Connor might get lucky. Instead, he was attacking where humans were weakest, forcing Connor to defend himself against questions he barely understood. The Emperor nodded slowly. The challenge is valid. Human, you may speak. Every eye in the chamber turned to Connor. He felt the weight of their judgment, their contempt, their curiosity. Somewhere in the crowd, Kessex was watching, waiting for him to fail. Connor stepped forward. You want to know if I'm worthy? His voice, amplified by the chamber's acoustics, sounded stronger than he felt. You want to know what a human can possibly offer an empire that spans star systems and commands species I can barely pronounce? Yes, Thane said simply. Then let me tell you what I am. I'm a cargo pilot who kept a dying ship running for 6 weeks with nothing but spare parts and stubbornness. I'm someone who diverted from safe passage to rescue people I'd never met because it was the right thing to do. I'm a human who lost family to violence that your empire sanctioned and covered up. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Vela's expression didn't change, but Connor saw her upper hands clench slightly. And I'm someone who understands what you really fear, Connor continued. It's not that I'm unworthy, it's that I'm different. You've built an empire on strength and conquest and rigid hierarchy, but my species survived and thrived because we adapt, we learn, we find solutions where you see only problems. Adaptation is not honor, Thane countered. No, but honor without adaptation is extinction. Connor turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. Your emperor is dying. Your succession law pits siblings against each other in combat. You've structured your entire civilization around the idea that might makes right. But what happens when might isn't enough anymore? The emperor leaned forward slightly in his throne. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeters. You speak of weakness, someone shouted from the crowd. The galaxy is changing. New species emerge every cycle. Resources shift. Threats evolve. An empire that cannot adapt will collapse, no matter how strong its warriors. Connor looked directly at the section where Keswick sat. And an emperor who rules through fear and violence will watch that empire crumble from within. Keswick stood. He was massive, easily 9 feet tall, with armor that looked like it had been forged from the hearts of dead stars. When he spoke, his voice shook the chamber. The human insults the imperial way. I demand satisfaction through combat. The crowd went wild. Vela moved then, stepping between Connor and her brother. He speaks under my protection. To challenge him is to challenge me. Then I challenge you both, Keswick snarled. When father dies, I will take the throne through the old way. Single combat. And I will kill you myself, sister, for bringing this contamination into our court. The Emperor's hand came down on his throne with surprising force. Enough. His voice was weak, but carried absolute authority. I have heard the humans speak. I have heard the challenge. And I will make my judgment. The chamber fell into breathless silence. Connor Hayes of Earth, you are correct. Our empire faces a choice. Continue as we have. Strong but rigid, or evolve and survive. The Emperor's eyes, still sharp despite his failing body, fixed on Connor. You represent something we have never allowed before. Change. Uncertainty. The possibility that strength comes in forms we have not recognized. He paused. Each breath a labor. Therefore, I invoke the Emperor's right. The trial of Bond will proceed immediately. If the human survives the blood exchange, he will be recognized as consort to Princess Vela. If he dies, her selection is void, and Keswick's challenge stands. The Emperor smiled, a terrible expression on his dying face. Let the blood decide. Attendants rushed forward with the ceremonial blade and the crystal vessel. Vela took Connor's arm, her grip tight enough to hurt. Last chance to refuse, she whispered. 70% odds. I've survived worse. No, you haven't. The blade opened her palm. Blue-violet blood, luminescent and alive with strange energy, flowed into the vessel. Then it was Connor's turn. The blade was cold against his skin. His blood, startlingly red in comparison, mingled with hers. The mixture began to react immediately, bubbling and sparking. An attendant brought the vessel to Connor. He took it in both hands, feeling the heat radiating from the liquid. Thane's voice carried from the noble section. He will die like all the others who overreached. Connor looked at Vela, at the hope and fear warring in her golden eyes, at the Empire watching him, waiting for him to fail. He thought of Katie, of Lisa and his crew, of every human who would die if Keswick took the throne. Then he drank. The liquid fire hit his throat, and he understood immediately why so many died. It wasn't poison. It was transformation. Corasian blood didn't just mix with human blood. It tried to rewrite it, to force human cells to adapt or die. Connor's vision went white. His nervous system screamed. Every cell in his body was at war with itself. But humans were good at adaptation. He felt his body changing, accepting, integrating. The fire became warmth. The pain became strength. And when his vision cleared, he was still standing. The chamber erupted in chaos. Connor looked down at his hands. Blue veins now traced patterns beneath his skin, glowing faintly. He could feel Vela's presence like a second heartbeat. The bond settling into place. The Emperor was laughing, a sound like grinding stone. The human survives. The bond is sealed. When I die, Princess Vela will take the throne with her consort beside her. He looked at Keswick. And you, my son, will swear loyalty to your sister or face exile. Kessix's roar shook the chamber, but the law was absolute. The Emperor had spoken. Vela's hand found Connor's, her fingers interlacing with his. "Welcome to the Imperial family," she said quietly. "Now the real work begins." Connor looked out at the sea of alien faces, some shocked, some furious, some showing the first hints of respect. He thought about the impossible path that had led him here, from cargo pilot to consort. The galaxy hadn't been ready for this, but ready or not, everything had just changed. And Connor Hayes, the human who survived, was going